The second episode, The Birth of a Steam Car. James Watt, who created the steam engine, met J. Roebuck, the founder of the Caron Works, and became his business partner in 1768. With a loan from Joseph Black, he built a small test engine. In 1769, he patented a new method of reducing steam and fuel consumption in fire engines. After Roebuck's bankruptcy in 1772, he continued his research with the support of Matthew Boulton, a manufacturer who ran a Soho plant in Birmingham. Later, in 1774, he created the Boulton and Watt Company and began manufacturing the Watt steam engine. In 1775, he and Boulton began a partnership that lasted for the next 25 years, and with Boulton's financial support, the institution was able to progress rapidly. In 1776, two institutions were installed for air flow in the acceptance of the Staffordshire coal mine and the waterway of the famous steelmaker J. Wilkinson. Because Watt's steam engine was smaller than the previous New Commons steam engine, and it used much more power while consuming only 1/3 of coal, the coal photographers scrambled to employ Watt's steam engine. In 1781, Boulton, who foresaw a new market for corn, malt, and cotton mills, encouraged Watt to devise a rotational motion from the existing reciprocating motion. Watt thus solved this problem in 1781 by inventing the so-called sun and planet gear, in which the axis rotates twice in each cycle of the engine. Thus, in 1782, it was patented as a double-acting engine in which the piston pushes and pulls at the same time. However, the double-acting engine needed a new way of firmly connecting the movable beam to the piston. James Watt solved this problem with the invention of the horizontal motion device in 1784, which James Watt described as the most genius and simple work I have ever invented. 4 years later, following Boulton's suggestion, Watt completed the final form of his steam engine by incorporating a centrifugal governor for automatic speed control and a pressure gauge invented in 1790. As a result, Watt's steam engine successfully converted the reciprocating motion of the steam engine into rotary motion and incorporated a double-acting piston crank that utilized both the upward and downward movements of the piston to generate rotational force. Watt invented a steam engine that separated the condenser from the cylinder, extracting used steam and condensing it outside the cylinder, thereby improving thermal efficiency fourfold. He also alternately supplied steam to both sides of the piston, ensuring a consistent power stroke. In this way, Watt expanded the application of the steam engine beyond pumping water from coal mines to various industries, including paper mills, flour mills, textile factories, iron works, distilleries, canals, water supply facilities, and steam locomotives. His contributions played a significant role in the Industrial Revolution and marked the beginning of modern engines. By the 1800s, steam locomotives and automobiles were spreading across the world. This development was particularly active in Britain, where Watt had created the steam engine. Inventors utilized Watt's steam engine to create buses and launched passenger transportation businesses. Naturally, as buses needed to carry more passengers, the chassis and boiler had to be enlarged. Early steam cars, due to their enormous size and weight, caused many accidents, but over time, steam cars gradually became smaller. However, they still required constant fueling of the boiler and a waiting time of over 30 minutes to start. In a street in England in the 1820s, a steam bus built by a British noble named Gordon was in operation. The driver rang the bell attached to the front of the bus to signal to pedestrians that the steam car was passing by while driving. There were about 10 passengers on the bus, and thick black coal smoke was billowing from the chimney of the steam engine at the back of the vehicle. The passengers gazed out the window, taking in the slowly passing scenery. One male passenger looked at this new vehicle that moved without a horse. His expression filled with wonder and admiration. He realized how much the times had changed and thought about how the world was gradually advancing. Another passenger sitting in front of him nodded as if he agreed. He had traveled a long way just to ride the steam car and was thinking about how revolutionary this new technology was. The steam bus traveled smoothly for a while until it approached a small hill. The driver tried to increase speed to get the nearly 8-ton vehicle over the hill in one go. Fortunately, the vehicle did not roll backward, but moving forward was also impossible. With an awkward expression, the driver politely addressed the passengers. He explained that under normal circumstances, the bus could easily climb such a hill, but today, the steam engine seemed to lack power. He then asked the male passengers if they could help push the vehicle from the back and sides. As soon as the driver finished speaking, the passengers got off the bus as if it were the most natural thing to do. The male passengers gathered at the back and sides of the bus and began pushing with all their might. However, the thick black smoke pouring from the chimney quickly covered the passengers' clothes and faces in soot. The passengers who were experiencing a steam car for the first time began to complain about the unexpected situation. Seeing this, the driver, with an apologetic expression, tried to console the passengers. He told them that another steam car he knew of weighed nearly 20 tons, requiring passengers to push with all their might on every hill. He reassured them that this vehicle was relatively light, so the effort needed was not as extreme. Hearing this, the passengers realized that their situation could have been worse, so they gathered their strength and continued pushing the vehicle. Eventually, the steam car slowly made it over the hill. The male passengers who had spent all their energy pushing the vehicle up the hill looked visibly exhausted. As soon as they reached the top, they collapsed onto rocks or grass to catch their breath. In the early 1800s, steam cars and trains did not have brakes. To stop the massive train, the operator had to turn off the steam engine when the station was in sight, and rely on inertia to bring the train to a stop. In other words, it was almost a matter of luck. Of course, good results were rare. Sometimes, the train stopped just short of the station, while other times, it overshot the platform. When the train passed the station, passengers would sometimes jump off to reach their destination. The steam car built by Nicholas Joseph Cugnot was extremely heavy, difficult to steer, and most importantly, lacked brakes, which ultimately led to an accident. Around 1820, about 50 years after Cugnot's accident, a very primitive braking system was introduced. It was called a block brake, in which the driver pulled a lever that pressed a brick-shaped shoe against the metal tire attached to the edge of the wooden wheel, slowing the vehicle down. At the time, steam cars had their engines directly connected to the drive axle, so even this primitive block brake was effective in slowing them down. However, due to the massive weight of nearly 10 tons, the stopping distance was still quite significant. Of course, the steam car that the male passengers pushed up the hill was also equipped with this type of brake. Trains at the time when steam engines were first invented did not have brakes. Similarly, the steam car that had just crossed the hill did not have a perfect braking system. Upon reaching the top of the hill, the steam car attempted to stop to pick up passengers again, but its heavy body continued to roll forward slowly. The operator tried to engage the brakes to stop the vehicle, but the steam car, unable to handle its own weight, began to slide slowly down the hill. The passengers, seeing this, were momentarily shocked, their faces turning pale. Instinctively, they ran after the steam car, waving their hands frantically and shouting. The operator also showed clear signs of panic. He quickly assessed the situation and gestured for the passengers to jump on immediately. Since the brakes could not fully stop the vehicle due to its immense weight, he struggled to help the passengers board safely while the car was still moving. The passengers boarded the vehicle as quickly as possible, following the operator's instructions. The operator reached out his hands, grabbing and pulling up each passenger one by one, until everyone was safely aboard. With that, the steam car resumed its journey toward its destination. Hearing about this episode, the British nobleman Gordon fell into deep contemplation. He realized that a device was needed to support the steam car when climbing hills, as well as an auxiliary tool to secure the vehicle when stopping. Thus, Gordon began searching for a solution to these problems. One day, Gordon was traveling to meet a friend while riding a hobby horse, which, though not widely used, had gained significant popularity in England at the time. This hobby horse was an improved version of the German Draisen, which is considered the precursor to the modern bicycle. The shape of the hobby horse was similar to today's bicycle, but it lacked pedals and a chain. Instead, the rider would sit on a saddle, hold onto a handle that could not change direction, and push off the ground with their feet to move forward. Gordon was diligently pushing forward with his feet as he rode his hobby horse toward his destination. Using this vehicle allowed him to move faster than walking, and the wind rushing past him made him feel refreshed. As he moved along in a light-hearted manner, a small child suddenly ran out from an alley. Startled, Gordon instinctively planted his feet firmly on the ground and came to an abrupt stop. Shocked by the unexpected situation, he felt a surge of anger. But just as he was about to scold the child, he hesitated and stood still. Seeing his sudden reaction, the child, frightened, took a few steps back and ran away. However, Gordon had no intention of chasing the child. Instead, he stood motionless, as if he had turned into a statue, lost in deep thought. He began to ponder whether the way he had stopped his hobby horse by planting his feet on the ground could be applied to carriages as well. What if a carriage had legs? Could this be used as a braking system? The spark of an idea lit up in his mind, and Gordon immediately turned his hobby horse around and headed home. As soon as he arrived, he threw himself into the design process, and eventually, he created a new type of bus equipped with an innovative braking system, the propelling legs bus. On a certain day in 1825, a strange steam-powered car appeared, running at 24 km, astonishing people. This steam-powered car, created by Gordon, ran through the streets with 46 iron legs, resembling a spider. Although its appearance was bizarre, it was a groundbreaking idea at the time. Even when encountering steep hills, passengers no longer needed to get out and push. When facing a hill, the wheels connected to the steam engine would roll up, while the iron legs simultaneously struck the ground to support the ascent. It looked like a giant spider slowly climbing up the hill. Moreover, if the steam car needed to stop while moving, the 46 iron legs would stomp the ground to bring it to a halt. However, these iron legs soon disappeared. This was because the iron legs had stomped and torn up almost all the roads in London, leading to police crackdowns.